Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
How are we today?
Excellent.
That's awesome. Hey, welcome to church, everyone. So good to see you here today and that you have chosen to get out of your bed and make it to the Gracegate Centre today. My name's Wesley.
Hi, my name's Kalia. It is so lovely to have you all here this morning.
Yes. I hope you have had an incredible week so far, but even if you haven't had a good week, you couldn't have chosen a better place to be at on a Saturday. And we hope, and I know that after today, you will leave knowing that, hey, it's been a good day, at Gracegate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Kalia, this past week, we've had some awesome things happen in our community. And one of them is that our young adults had a getaway.
They did, yes. Last weekend, our young adults group called Tribe had a getaway up at the farm. It was an awesome time. They had, look at all this fun that they're having. On the Sunday, they actually went to Waipu Cove and had a great time in the sunshine, went out to lunch together. It's just a great opportunity for our young adults to connect together, come together as friends, and just get out of your normal routine and have an overnighter together.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about our church community is that we always say that life is better together. And there's an environment for you, no matter your age or stage of life, there's an environment for you where you can connect, not just in a row, but in a circle, in a smaller group, and when you can actually be connected, feel that, you matter, and actually do life together. And one of the craziest things I heard was that someone flew up all the way from Taranaki because they heard that our young adults was quite a vibe, and so they came up especially for that. So that's pretty cool.
That's so cool. That's amazing.
But Kalia, we also we always announce these things from stage before we start church, but and we generally always speak our youth and our kids' environments. And why do we do that?
Well, the youth is such an important part of our world. They are the next generation, and we've actually got many jumpers that you might see around that says "Here for the next gen," because we are here for the kids. We're here as an environment for them to grow up in a world that is like God-centered, and just they feel like they're important and they are valued, and they're seen and they're heard. So our kids are so important here, and we've got some really cool things coming up for our intermediate and high school kids in the holidays. Very exciting things. You want to share about the first one? Yeah,
definitely. So this is an awesome opportunity if you're a parent to have, I think, 3 date nights in a row without your kids, all right? And so we have, first of all, a getaway for our intermediate kids. They're going up for a camp for 3 days, and you want to send them there. If you have kids, or if you know parents who have kids, and you think, hey, actually, these parents just need a bit of a hand, why don't you shout them for the camp, send their kids to the camp. You'll have incredible leaders investing in their lives for 3 solid days. And all the details are behind me, or you just scan the QR code in front of you and you can find out more about that camp. But then we also have another one.
Yes, we do. Our high schoolers, we can't forget them. They've got an overnighter in the second week of the holidays. We are going up to the beach. We're going to have an awesome time. We'll be right next to the beach, a giant reserve, playing beach games, having some great hangouts, a movie night, and just great vibes in general. So if you've got high schoolers, again, send them away on this overnighter. It is going to be a great time. I'm going to be there. I'm very excited. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, love it, Kalia. One of the things that is awesome about our community is that we also run, right now, we've got incredible kids environments going on all the way from 0 all the way up to 13. And my daughter is 4 years old. On Thursday this week, she woke us up. Straight away, she ran into our bed in the morning, and she said to us, what day is it? She asks us every day. And we said, hey, today's Kindy Day. And she's like, no, I want to go to church. And we love that, and that's the environment that our kids leaders create for our kids. They love it there. So if you have kids and you want to actually get them in an environment where they're going to learn more about faith and they're going to be in a safe environment with some incredible leaders, get them in those spaces now.
Absolutely. We're also going to take this moment to invite the band up. So if you guys want to come up and get ready. And while they're doing that, we've got one final announcement, and that is Easter. Easter is coming up very soon, in a few weeks' time, and we've got some really cool things planned for the weekend. The first thing is we've got a worship night on Good Friday. It's just going to be a great time where we can all get together and worship God on the greatest day in Christian history, where it's the day where Jesus sacrificed everything for us. And so we want to thank him and worship him for that. So it would be amazing to see you there on the Friday night so we can worship God all together.
Yeah, that's right. And on the Saturday, we're also going to have an Easter program. Generally at Gracegate, over Easter, it's a great opportunity to invite a friend, a family member, someone who may have not been at church before or who has never been at church. We'd love them to be, and we make sure that the day is packed with so much creativity and a compelling way of sharing who Jesus is in a very non-threatening way. And so I'd love you guys to invite your friends, invite your family, invite that neighbor, invite that work colleague that you just think, oh man, maybe church would do them so good. Like Easter is an incredible opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Everything you said, yeah.
Great. Hey, Kelly, I also
Yes.
just want to give a shout out to our online family because although we have so many people in the room, every single Saturday we've got a whole community who is watching online, and you matter to us. We're grateful that you guys are always joining us online, and thank you for being a part of our church community.
Yeah. Well, that is all from us for the start of the program. Yeah, we're just going to sing some songs, worship God together. We'll see you guys later.
Awesome. Thanks, Claire.
Thanks, guys. It's that time in the morning where we exercise our lungs and our voice. We stand. And this morning, this is going to require participation. So be ready for that. Here we go. Let's all sing Glorious Day. We can put our hands together. Here we go.
I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my
little puffed. You should be. So we're going to change it up a little bit. This next song we're singing is called Gratitude. And we all have so much to be grateful for. This past week, I had a profound experience of gratitude. Oh, what's going on? I guess I'll just have to yell. Oh, okay, there we go. So I just included us all in a profound experience of gratitude, right? 1 minute, we weren't thinking about electricity, the lights, the camera guys, the tech crew. The next minute, we were. What's going on? In fact, let's show some appreciation to the tech guys. That was obviously a setup. Very well done. So last night, I celebrated 3 years of sobriety. And sobriety is a difficult journey, right? Because alcohol for me became the solution to my problems. You take the alcohol away, and what are you left with? You're left with your problems. And also in the journey of sobriety, you have an intense awareness of how much the disease has cost and how much you've lost. When I first came into the rooms, I heard the phrase, a grateful alcoholic. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. The difference that I found in that phrase, a grateful alcoholic, which made no sense to me. I came to realize the difference between loss with gratitude and loss without gratitude. Gratitude turns what I had lost into treasure. Gratitude transformed the hurt and the pain, along with the tears of brokenness, and made a pearl of great price. And we all have so much to be grateful for here. It's all so undeserved and so freely given. This morning, let's embrace the spirit of gratitude as we sing this song.
us new life and redemption, God. There is nothing that we can do, God, but stand here and praise you for who you are and what you have given us. For every small thing to every big thing, Lord. Thank you that you are a provider and that you care for us. I pray, God, that you speak to us today. Move our hearts, move our spirits, heal our wounds, Lord. Thank you for your never-ending grace and everlasting love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hello, guys. How's everyone doing? We all feeling okay? Hey, my name is Bree, if I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet. And I tried really hard to get out on stage here during the blackout because I do have a little bit of a limp today, which is why I'm sitting down. I hope you'll excuse me. I usually don't like sitting. I'm hard to keep still most of the time. But I was joking with my husband this week because the last couple of weeks in a row, I've actually been asked by different people to come and like sub in their like social mixed league kind of games. And I did like netball one week, and then I got asked to come up and play soccer, football, whatever we call it, this week. And I was joking to Blair saying, hey, like I could just be like a professional sub. Like everyone wants me to come play in their teams. Like this is so cool. Maybe I should charge. I don't know. But sadly, my sub career has come to an abrupt halt as we have a muscle injury now. So we're getting around a bit slower than usual. But that's all right. I'm sure I'll be back up and running around very shortly. So let me know if we've got any sports to play. I'm still willing to get out there. So I do enjoy a good run around. But today it is my pleasure to speak to you for this kind of third week in our series called The Best Is Yet to Come. And that is a saying that here at Gracegate we believe wholeheartedly that the best is yet to come. And as you can see from our graphic and our beautiful green door here, we've kind of used this metaphor, this symbol of doors, and this idea that life actually has a series of doors that, you know, some maybe we're eager to walk through and it's an exciting opportunity, but some we're actually really fearful of, because the thing with the door is you don't actually know what's on the other side when it's shut, right? And so last week, Wes spoke to us about the door of faith and what it looks like to have riskless living, and what that looks like in our faith life, and how that actually brings us so much closer and into so much more of a real experience in our faith with God. And this week, we are going to be speaking about the door of trust and surrender. I actually joked about having, could I have two doors, because there's two words on this one, like maybe a lovely little French door situation, but that was a hard no. So we have one door, but it represents trust and surrender. And that's because, honestly, these things really do go hand in hand. I don't know if you can surrender without trusting, and I don't know if you trust something fully, how do you not surrender to it? So I was trying to think, just kind of in my life, what is a good example? What's something where I had to really trust and surrender to a process, or something that I don't fully understand, and I had to take that step. And I actually thought about this fun experience that I had. It's about 10 years ago now, but I had the opportunity to travel to Hawaii with Blair, my husband now. And we were there. We were staying at a backpackers on the north shore of Oahu, which, if you know anything about Hawaii or surfing, the north shore is where Pipeline is. That's the most epic wave in the world, one of the most famous ones. And we were literally staying right across from Pipeline. It was the off season, so the waves weren't that big, but it was still cool. Anyway, we would walk up to this little supermarket for our groceries each day. And we saw, coming home one afternoon, there was this weird little shack kind of opposite the food mart. It was obscured by trees, but we could kind of see there was these cool pictures of sharks on the outside of the shack, and we're like, ooh, what is this? So we went to investigate and met this guy in there. He was this young guy with dreads. He was a real hippie, kind of cool guy. And he told us, oh, I know the shark whisperer. And we're like, You know the shark whisperer. Wow, okay. And so he convinced us anyway. We were easily convinced. Long story short, we paid some money and we agreed to get on a boat with the shark whisperer and go swim with sharks. And it honestly didn't seem like a super touristy thing. Like, it was pretty run down. We didn't know how legit this was, but we were very convinced. The shark whisperer, apparently her name was Oceans McGee. I don't know if that was her real name, but that's what everyone called her. So we went out on this little tin boat with Oceans McGee. And look, now that I look back, I'm like, we probably didn't make a whole heap of great decisions here, but don't worry, we survived, obviously. So we go out, we meet at like 5 a.m, it was dark on this kind of secluded dock, and we go out on this little tin boat into the ocean, and they told us, oh yeah, we have to go to where it's like the drop-off. Made me think of Finding Nemo, but where like the ocean floor kind of drops off, and then it gets really, really deep into like the abyss of the ocean, but that's where the sharks come up. So we're like, cool, okay. So we go to the drop-off, and that's when Oceans McGee, she kind of gets our attention. It was only us, and there was 4 other people on the boat. And the whole thing was that they take you like 3 at a time to swim with the sharks. And when I say swim with the sharks, I mean like there was no cage, there was no like glass enclosure. It was literally just like you, some flippers, a snorkel, and like your flesh swimming with the sharks. Anyway, so she kind of gave us the rundown. And actually after the rundown, the other people in the boat, they were like, nah, we're not going to do this. So it was actually only Blair and I and one other person that even did this thing. Anyway, this is what she told us, okay? So if you like sharks, here's some information in case you find yourself in a shark situation. This might help you in the future. Okay, so these are the things that what was her name? Oceans McGee, the shark whisperer, told us. She said, okay, when we're swimming with a shark, she said, your heart rate has to stay low. If your heart rate is stressed and elevated, the sharks will sense it and it will send them into a bit of a frenzy. We're like, okay, cool, so stay calm. That was the first thing she told us. And then she said, now, when we're kind of swimming around in there, you can't have your limbs too far away from your body because that looks a little bit attractive and the sharks get curious in the way that they, ease their curiosity is with their mouths. So she said, keep your arms by your sides while you're like kind of like floating around. So we were like, okay. She said, we can't make any splashing. She said, splashing, that really gets them excited. So she said, don't splash. So we said, okay. And then the last thing she said that actually, you can kind of dive down and like swim around nicely with your soft, no splashing, no arms, swimming. But she said, whatever you do, you cannot dive down like underneath the sharks. Because she said how sharks work is their hierarchy is that whichever shark is kind of closest to the surface is the alpha, like that's the leader. And if we're all swimming on top of them, so in theory, they should be okay, and we're kind of like their leader, we're the alphas in this situation. But she said, if you go underneath, she's like, they're not going to let you get back up. So we had all these very serious things in mind, and we had that decision. Do we trust Oceans McGee and swim with these sharks in the middle of nowhere at the ocean drop-off off the tiny tin boat? And we did. And do you know what? It was the coolest, most magical experience. Ben's got some photos that we're going to put up here. These are the actual photos here. I'll limp out of the way so you can see a bit better. These are the actual photos that Blair took on his GoPro of the sharks. We also had videos, and I lost them. I couldn't find them for you, but we got photos. So honestly, we got in the water, and do you see how many sharks there are? They literally circled from the abyss of the ocean, up to us. And yeah, I think that might have been my flippers. That's how close we are, just kind of hanging out in the water with them. And honestly, it was surreal. And I know this is hard to believe, but it was peaceful. It was calming being in the water with them. I think because we knew we had to stay really, really calm, and we were just trusting, surrendering to all these things that we were told. And it was like she said, it was just really peaceful and beautiful. The sharks just kind of beautifully swam around us, and we watched them. And yeah, I was a little bit tempted to pat one. And I was like, keep the arm down. I did remember that rule. And it was incredible. And I'm so glad that we did actually, trust and surrender to that process. And that I'm also very glad that I didn't try and, lean on my own understanding. and, go with my own ideas, like trying to pat the sharks, or thinking, hey, actually, like, I can sort this in my own strength. But I trusted the lady that actually knew the most about that situation. And I trusted that she doesn't want us to get eaten by sharks. This is her business. She wants us to have a great experience. And it was. It was, like, still to this day, one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. It was very, very cool. And the crazy thing was, when we got back up on the boat after, we were in the water for over an hour. It was super cool. We got back up on the boat and she said, do you guys want to see what happens, like, if you didn't trust me, if you didn't follow the things I said? And we were like, okay. And so they started the engine of the boat. She had like this colourful stick or something. Apparently they don't like colours either. Another note. And she kind of put it in the water and she was like splashing the water to make it splash. And literally like that, the sharks like frenzied and they were like writhing on top of the water and jumping out. There was one of the guys who didn't come in the water. He had his GoPro on a stick holding it out to like film them. One of them leapt up and grabbed it. GoPro was gone. Honestly, like the sharks, we thought they were peaceful, and I was kind of thinking like, are these some tame sharks that she's like raised from birth and they love her? But no, these sharks went wild the minute that we did all the things that, she told us not to do. And I was trying to think, honestly, like in life, what is the risk? Like in that situation, the risk of us not trusting and surrendering to this process was being eaten by sharks. In life, what are some of the risks of us not trusting or surrendering in our faith? You might not get eaten by a shark, but you might be missing out on some of the most incredible experiences of your life. You might be missing out on some of the most amazing sense of peace in your life. You might be missing out on the purpose that God has for you or a passion that He can ignite in your life. And so this is what we're going to look into today. We're going to look at what holds us back from fully trusting or surrendering in our faith. Now, I was trying to think about, what is the opposite, right, of trust and surrender? And I was thinking, well, I think it's quite obvious. The opposite of trust is doubt, right? And the opposite of surrender is kind of like resisting or holding back, not wanting to let go. And when we say surrender, I don't want you to think of, being weak or giving in, because that's not what this is about in this context. But surrender is about this idea of hand in hand with trust, about letting go, about allowing maybe God to be in control, to take the lead, realizing that we don't always know best, because we don't, right? And so I was trying to think of what are like the main things that make us doubt, that make us hold on to stuff. And I've tried to whittle it down to 3 kind of areas. And the first one is this. It's our doubts about who God is. Like, you guys might be sitting here today and thinking, actually, cool shark story, Brie, but I don't even believe in God. And that's okay. Or maybe you do believe in God, but there are some things that you actually still doubt, because I know for me, I can look around and believe everything I might read in the Bible, but then it's really hard when I see horrible stuff happening on the news, or I see heartbreaking things that my friends or my family might be going through. It's hard when things don't seem to line up, right? And that's our doubts about who God is. The other thing is that we can have doubts about who we are, what we have to offer. Maybe we feel like God wouldn't even want me. Like, I'm not good enough. I can't do anything cool or special, or like my life kind of doesn't like measure up. And we can get in our head about what we have to bring. And the third thing that can hold us back is our desire to be self-sufficient. Because we like to be independent, right? We like to do it by ourselves. We like to sort things. We like to be in control. We like to hold things back because it can make us feel better for a while. The thing is that we come to faith with our own histories and backgrounds and experiences and trauma, and we kind of piece together this idea of who we think God is, or maybe who we've been told by a number of people, or what we've experienced. And sometimes we need to deconstruct those ideas and then reconstruct them and take a really, really good look at who Jesus says He is. And the best way to do that is to have a look through the Gospels, the stories in the Bible that are about Jesus, that have Jesus' voice speaking and teaching. And so that is what we're going to do today. We're going to look into a passage in John. And before we go there, I just want to say, because I was thinking about this, and I was like, do you know, even if you're not sure who you say Jesus is, if you're not sure about this whole God thing, historians and scholars and kind of society in general actually do say that Jesus was real, like a historical figure at the very least, who walked this earth, who lived and died. It's recorded not only in Christianity, but in so many different religions and cultures and nations. And the thing is, so much so that even that history is literally dated BC, before Christ, and Anno Domini, which is the year of our Lord, or after Christ. And so when we're reading our Bible today, I want to encourage you, no matter what you believe, know that Jesus actually, he was here, he walked the earth. And it's our choice for, are we going to believe who he says he is through what we can read recorded in the Bible. So we're going to have a look today at John chapter 6, and it says this. After this, Jesus went across the Sea of Galilee. A huge crowd followed him, attracted by the miracles they had seen him do among the sick. When he got to the other side, he climbed a hill and sat down, surrounded by his disciples. It was nearly time for the feast of Passover, kept annually by the Jews. We're just going to pause there for a second, because it started by saying after this, and I want to fill you guys in, so you're not wondering what that meant. But this that Jesus was talking about was he had actually been traveling around the nearby towns and villages. He had been healing the sick. He'd been performing miracles. He'd had the kind of Jewish religion scholars who, they didn't really like him. They were kind of trying to catch him out, and they were asking questions and trying to get him to prove himself. And the crowds that were following him and that were seeing all of this, they were enraptured by everything they were seeing. They couldn't get enough. The words he was speaking, the things he was doing. And so, as you can see, they've followed him. And basically, it's also noted here that it was nearly time for the feast of Passover, kept by the Jews. So that was kind of a tradition, a time of year that they celebrated annually. And there is something very important about this. And we're going to come back to it later, but I want you to remember that the author, who's John, who was one of the disciples, one of Jesus' closest followers and friends, he wrote this, and he put this here, I think, as a little time stamp for us. We know what time of year it is, because we know it is Passover time. And it's going to be important, I think. So we'll come back to that. All right, let's keep reading. It says, when Jesus looked out and saw that a large crowd had arrived, he said to Philip, "Where can we buy bread to feed these people?" He said this to stretch Philip's faith. He already knew what he was going to do. Philip answered, 200 pieces of silver wouldn't be enough to buy bread for each person to get a piece. Now, I was very curious to know how much this would equate to. And I found out that 1 piece of silver was equivalent to a daily wage for a skilled laborer in those times. So if you count that up, 200 pieces, that's over half a year of someone's wages. And that's how much was going to be needed to feed this crowd of people. That's a lot of money for food. So let's keep going. One of the disciples, it was Andrew, brother to Simon Peter, said, "There's a little boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish." But that's a drop in a bucket for a crowd like this. Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." There was a nice carpet of green grass in this place. They sat down, about 5,000 of them. And one thing I want to note there is when they counted in the kind of ancient scriptures, biblical times, they would count only men. So 5,000 men. Imagine how many women and children included in that crowd there would be. It's huge. Then Jesus took the bread, and having given thanks, he gave it to those who were seated. Wait, how many were seated again? At least 5,000. He did the same with the fish. All ate as much as they wanted. When the people had eaten their fill, he said to his disciples, "Gather the leftovers so nothing is wasted." They went to work and filled 12 large baskets with leftovers from the 5 barley loaves. you see, it finishes with this. The people realized that God was at work among them in what Jesus had just done. It's pretty incredible to think about, right? I mean, even if you've heard this story a number of times, when you really think about it, I'll admit, I'm really bad at maths, but even I can do the maths that 5 loaves and 2 fish cannot feed over 5,000 people, that there should not be leftovers, enough to fill 12 different baskets full of leftovers. Like, that definitely does not equate. That is a miracle. And like it says here, it was through this that the people realized, even if they had maybe been doubting before this, they realized that God was at work among them through what Jesus had just done. And the cool thing about this is that, there's so many different miracles and incredible things recorded that Jesus did throughout the Bible, but this one was one of the ones with the most witnesses. That's 5, 10, maybe 15,000 witnesses that didn't just witness, but they experienced this miracle. They were able to eat the food that Jesus multiplied and provided. And so today we're going to use this story to break down and find some things that can be helpful for us on our own journey. And we're going to look specifically at the perspective of one person in this story, and that is the little boy. Now, our first kind of point for the day is this. What is in your hands? Because that little boy came to hear Jesus speak that day, and all that he had was his 5 loaves and his 2 fish. And I'm pretty sure he just thought that was going to be his lunch. And it ended up serving a very different purpose. It ended up being part of one of the most widely known miracles of all these witnesses. He was part of this story. Jesus didn't want to Jesus is Jesus. If you believe he's who he says he is, he could have snapped his fingers and it could have rained cheeseburgers for these people. But he wanted to use the little boy and what he brought, what he had in his hands. And I think that holds so much power and importance for us as well. I actually remember one of the most impacting times that I heard this story and heard even this question was when I was, maybe 18 or 19. And I've spoken before about the awesome youth group that I used to be a part of at my old church. And there was this one time that we actually got a street ball basketball team from South London to come and speak and kind of do this event as part of our youth group. It was very cool. We called it Southside Slam because they were from South London and we were from South Auckland, and we were like, that's cool. And what happened was these basketballers, and they were the giant professional basketball guys. They came over and we organised this whole basketball street ball comp throughout South Auckland, and we would kind of travel around. Different teams would submit to see if they could beat the guys from South London. No one could beat them. And then the thing is though, at the end of every game, these guys, our visitors from the south side of London, they would come and they would speak and they would share this story about feeding the 5,000 and about what the little boy had in his hands. And they would ask this question, what have you got in your hands? And they framed it from their own experience because they said, we realized what we had in our hands was a basketball. And from where we come from, if you try to talk to someone about Jesus, they don't want to hear it. But if you offer to play street ball, they're in. And so they realized that playing basketball was the way to connect with their community, with their peers, with people that didn't want a bar of faith. But actually the minute that you connected with them, that you played a game of basketball, they'd hear what you had to say. And these guys literally ended up traveling the world with their basketball, with what was in their hands, in order to share the message of Jesus and how their lives had been changed and how they had found hope. And I thought that was the most powerful thing. So that's our first question for us today. What is in your hands? Because if God can use 5 bits of bread and some fish, if God can use a basketball, there's no end to what he could use. So what's in your hands? The second point for us is to bring it to God. Because if we figure out what's in our hands, but then we kind of don't do anything with it, then what's that going to do? The little boy had his fish and his bread, and through the disciples, he brought that to Jesus. And that was then used to provide and feed lunch to these thousands of people. And I think in that moment, it wasn't only used to provide physically, to quench their hunger, but it actually provided spiritually, because it said at the end of that passage that the people saw the power of God through what Jesus did. Jesus used the little boy to show up spiritually for that giant crowd of people, because he brought what he had to God. The thing is, we don't even know what is on the other side of, this door of trust and surrender and what we have and what we bring. But I think we can pretty much guarantee that it's always going to be bigger and better than whatever we can imagine in our own brains. And the other thing I want to point out is coming back to the time stamp of this story. It was during this Passover time, and I did some little research into this because I thought it was really interesting. And scholars believe that this miracle was exactly 1 year before the Last Supper and before Jesus went to die on the cross. And I love this because I feel like it's a little bit of foreshadowing, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term, but, like in movies and they flash something that's going to happen in the future to get you excited for what's coming. I feel like this is that. Jesus breaks bread and shares it with all these people to feed them. And then a year later, he does the same thing. He breaks bread to share with his 12 disciples. But he adds another layer, because this is when he tells them that actually this bread signifies my body that's about to be broken, that's about to be given for your life. He's giving us life. The bread is that kind of filling the physical life, but he's saying, actually, I'm here to spiritually fill you holistically. And I love that this miracle is kind of almost pointing to that, to what's going to happen. That not only a few can be fed, but actually we're going to make sure everyone is fed, that everyone is in on it. And this is, I think, just an incredible reminder that God will always provide. Not only physically, but that he's already provided through what he's done on the cross for us. And it leads us to what our final step is today. And our final step is actually to open our hands. Because this is the thing, if we know what we've got and we bring it to God, but we don't release it and let it go to him, we haven't taken our final step of surrender. And when I think about whether it's what I have to bring, whether it is that part of me that wants to, be self-sufficient, to be independent or in control, whether it's actually some doubts that I'm holding on to that I don't even want to voice, whether it's doubts about God or about myself, if I hold on to them and keep them close to my chest and clenched, then he can't help me. I need to be able to open my hands and surrender that over to God. There's a story in Luke 18 where Jesus just has the best answer. And I'm going to kind of skip through the beginning of it and then we'll read the last little part. But basically, Jesus is speaking with a young religion scholar, so a Jewish scholar. And the scholar comes up to him and he's wanting to know, what do I have to do to be saved? And he says this along with his line of, I've followed the rules, I've done good, I've done this, I've had the best life, I've kept all the commands, he's done everything right. And Jesus said to him, well, then give away all your riches or your wealth to the poor and come follow me. The thing is, this young scholar, he was very wealthy. And that was the one thing that he didn't think Jesus was going to ask him to let go of. And he couldn't let go of it. He wouldn't let go of it. And Jesus even actually said the line. He said, do you have any idea how hard it is for people who have it all to enter God's kingdom? He says, it's easier to thread a camel through a needle's eye than a rich person to enter God's kingdom. And everyone's like, wow, that's so hopeful, Jesus, thank you. And they said, what do we do then? And this is what I love, because this is what Jesus says. He says this, no chance at all, Jesus said, if you think you can pull it off by yourself. Every chance in the world if you trust God to do it. And I think that so beautifully sums this whole process up of what's in our hands, of bringing it to God and surrendering it to Him, is that actually it's okay that you feel like you can't do it, because no chance at all if we think we can do it by ourselves. But every chance in the world if we trust God to do it. So what are you holding on to? Maybe you feel like you relate to that young religion scholar. Like, actually, hey, I've lived a good life. I've followed the rules. I've done everything the right way. But there's something that you are just holding on to that you can't let go of. And for this young scholar, he knew eternal life was at stake and he still wouldn't let it go. And it's the same for us. What are we not letting go of that's stopping us from getting through that door of trust and surrender? I was having a look this week at a lot of kind of interviews and little devotionals about doubt. And I came across Craig Rochelle because he's just released a book that's called The Benefit of Doubt. And I think I'm really going to need to get this book. He's got some awesome things that have come from it. But I wanted to share 2 quotes that he shared in here. Because I think for you today, if it's doubt about who Jesus is, about who God is and what this whole faith thing is, or maybe you've been a Christian for a very long time and you've had doubts that have built up slowly and you feel you've always been taught to not voice them, then I think these things are really encouraging, because this is the first thing that Craig Rochelle said. He said, diffuse your doubt by defining it. Name it and then take it to God. And I think that so beautifully fits into this message, right? Of actually looking at what we're holding on to and taking it to God. I remember for me in my life, that was the best advice I ever got years ago, when someone said, if you are doubting, if you are angry at God, if you are hurt, it's okay to say those things to God. He's big enough to handle it. And I love that message. And the next thing that I want to encourage you, which is the next thing that he said, was this, that doubt isn't always the enemy to faith, but an invitation to a deeper faith. And so today, are you being called to a deeper faith? Maybe you're being called to step into faith for the first time. But I think on some level, we're all always being called to a deeper faith. So I think, is it time to step through that door of trust and surrender with our hands open? Whether it is something that you need to bring that actually you don't think is good enough, that you don't think God can use. Remember, He can use fish and bread. He can use whatever you have. Whether it's a basketball, maybe it's a touch rugby ball, maybe it's crochet needles. For me, in my life, I felt like it was my feet for dancing. And I remember years ago thinking that thought, hey, let's let God use my dancing. Whatever it is that you have, God can use. Maybe for you, it's something that you're holding on to, like the rich young ruler that you want to control. Maybe it's finances, maybe it's your family, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's a habit. But it's something that you need to give to God. Maybe it's your doubt or your questions that you've been keeping close to your chest that's time to actually bring them with your open hands through that door of trust and surrender. Today we're going to finish by listening to a song. And this song is called Honest Offering. And it sums up so beautifully with all of the lyrics what we've been speaking about. I'm going to read you the chorus. It says this. It says, I let go, fully surrendered. Jesus, you can have it all. You love every broken piece of an honest offering. Jesus, you can have it all. So what is your honest offering today? As we listen to the words, I want you to think about that. What is in your hands? What's your honest offering? Because no matter what it is, if it's that doubt, if it's that fear, if it's what you're holding on to, if it is your brokenness, if it is your plans, your dreams, your problems, like it's all okay to bring before God. What I want to leave you guys with today is this final verse to encourage you. It says this. It says, I am absolutely convinced that nothing living or dead, angelic or demonic, today or tomorrow, high or low, thinkable or unthinkable, absolutely nothing can get between us and God's love because of the way that Jesus, our Master, has embraced us. Nothing can change the way that God feels about you. Nothing you bring can disappoint him. He is on the other side of that door waiting and ready to sit with you, to walk with you, and to lead you and to love you along the way. So as we listen today, what is your honest offering?
Tried to clean it up nice, tried to hold it all together. I'm living rich in the world, but a spiritual beggar. And I've been waiting to give till I can give you something better. You just wanted my heart, so here it is, all of it. Will you take it in this condition? Here I am, fully surrendered. Jesus, you can have it all. Jesus, you can have it all. 'Cause you love every broken piece of an honest offering. Jesus, you can have it all. You turn the pennies in my hand into a heavenly treasure. 'Cause your kingdom rules by a different measure. And so I'm pouring out until I'm an empty vessel. God, here's my heart. The joy and the sorrow, yesterday and tomorrow. I let go, fully surrendered. Jesus, you can have it all. Jesus, you can have it all. 'Cause you love every broken piece of an honest offering. Jesus, you can have it all to Jesus, I surrender. All to you, I freely give. I will ever love and trust you. In your presence, I daily live. All to Jesus, I surrender. All to you, I freely I will ever love and trust you. In your presence daily live. Jesus, you can have it all. Jesus, you can have it all. 'Cause you love every broken piece of an honest offering. Jesus, you can have it all. Jesus, you can have it all. I surrender all. I surrender all. To thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. I surrender all. I surrender all. To thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all.
I just want to invite everyone, will you stand with us? Can we sing that last chorus just all together again? I surrender all. And while we're singing it, as Bree has challenged us, let's make it our own personal prayer today. Thanks, Ellie.
I surrender all. I surrender all. To thee, my blessed Savior, I
Father God, today we are so grateful as we've heard about your love and that nothing can separate us from your love, God. And today we want to respond to that love. We want to, just give you whatever we're holding on to that is holding us back from a personal and incredible experience and relationship with you. And so, Father God, today, you know our hearts, you know our prayer, you know what we're surrendering, you know what we're struggling to trust you with, God. And today we just want to lay it down and say, can you take control? Can you take control of our lives, our decisions? Maybe the doubts that we have, God, can you just lead the way? We're trusting you that you're a God that is so much bigger than anything we can think or imagine. Lead the way, God. This is our prayer. I surrender all to you today. We pray this trusting in the mighty and the powerful name of Jesus. Amen. Thanks so much, guys. You can grab a seat. Hey, one of the things we often say after kind of the program or the last song is take your next step. What's your next step? And today I want to encourage you, whatever you're holding on to or you want to surrender, maybe today's that day that you actually take your next step in your faith journey. And the easiest way to do that is just to go to the next step station in our foyer and speak to someone. Just ask them, tell them about where you're at in your life and say, hey, I think it's time to take my next step. Maybe today that might be baptism for you. Maybe you're thinking, hey, I want to go all in. I want to surrender all and I want to go public about my faith. And so maybe baptism is something that you want to take your next step in. Maybe today it's your finances And, you know, that just like Bree shared about the rich young ruler, that's something that you struggle to actually let go of, even though you know that that can make such a big difference and a great contribution, maybe to your local church, maybe to a local charity. And so if that is the next step that you need to take, I want to encourage you to take that next step. Maybe you're just living life by yourself, isolated, and you're just, you know, fearful of taking that next step of community, of getting to know other people. And maybe today your next step is actually joining a group. So whatever it is, maybe it's just getting in the Word. There's so many ways that you can get connected and kind of take that next step. And there's a family and a community at Gracegate who'd love to come alongside you. So today, go and see someone at the next step desk. Maybe it's prayer today. Hang around in the front chair and there'll be people who are willing to pray for you today. Or just scan the QR code in front of you and you'll see so many opportunities, resources that can help you take your next step in your faith journey. Two more announcements. The one is, don't forget the volunteers night that is coming up in a couple of weeks' time. It's a great opportunity to just have fun with our whole team who serve you continuously. So make sure you save the date. It's Monday, I think it's the 31st of March, 7 to 9. We're just going to have great fun together as a community. So come. And then today, when you leave at all the doors, we're going to have our team, our ushers, giving you an Easter at Gracegate invitation. And what we'd love you to do with that is not just take it and then throw it in the bin or leave it in your car, but could you maybe pray about it? And could you maybe ask God, like, hey, God, who can I invite? Who would you like me to invite to Easter at Gracegate? And then could you go and give that to that person and say, I'd love for you to come and sit with me at Easter at Gracegate. It's going to be an awesome day. I hope you guys have been encouraged and inspired today at Gracegate. There is a God who is up to something good in our lives, and it's amazing that, you know, we can come in here, we can be challenged and be inspired. Make sure you get to know someone before you leave today. If you don't know anyone, coffees are still happening. And I just want to, again, give a shout out to Bree for sharing the message today. Chris, 3 years, that's awesome. We're so proud of you. And I want to give one more shout out today. We don't often do this, but I think it's important. This person is a significant person in our community who contributes on a daily basis in so many ways and has a tough time doing that. And that is Crystal. Crystal, she's having a significant birthday tomorrow. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's her birthday tomorrow. If you don't know her, go and greet her today before you leave Gracegate and wish her a happy birthday. We hope you have an incredible day tomorrow. But thank you for the way you serve here at Gracegate and the contributions you make, Crystal. All right, have a great weekend. Thanks for being part of us here today.